Part 2 of replaying Lewis Hamilton's entire career on F1 25. Last episode we made the move to McLaren from Williams to claim our first World Championship, and our aim for this career mode is to match that 7 world titles, and with 6 seasons left means we have to win a title each season. But let's go straight to the end of season 4 to see how we did after the new regulations. And for the end of season 4, we once again managed to win the World Championship and retain it, meaning we are now a 2-time world champion. We had an amazing start to the season, claiming 3 wins in a row, and a terrible weekend at Silverstone once again with a mid-season slump, but in the end, after a super close battle with Lando at Abu Dhabi, we managed to win the title for season 4. McLaren also won the constructors for the year again, as well there was a regulation change for next season. And looking into who was good for the new departments proposed, Ferrari looked strong, but seeing we had a lot of resources and probably didn't have as many upgrades as Williams or Ferrari to save, the smart move was to stay with McLaren for next season. There was also just one driver move for next season, and that was Alpine not renewing Doohan's contract and the young Brit of O'Sullivan taking his position. For the start of season 5, we did well with making the safe move and staying with McLaren, as we were miles ahead of anyone else in development for the season, which seems like again it's just going to be a title fight between me and Lando. But let's transition to the end of the season to see if we retained our title and got our 3rd world championship. And we once again retained our title, and Lewis Hamilton was now a 3-time world champion, and this time with a healthy gap to Lando. As predicted, we had a very dominant year, smashing the constructors with over double the points of 2nd and being 30 points ahead of Lando, who once again slipped up at the last hurdle at Qatar after a poor weekend and finishing in 11th. However, as we know, our car was extremely far ahead of development at the start of the season. Unfortunately, that gap did shrink massively, and with not doing any upgrades all season, I came into the problem of actually not having enough recognition to actually do any. This was because Lewis and Lando were so close in performance, neither driver was really a number 1. So in the end, I had to make the move to Red Bull, as they were pretty close in development and the only team offering me over 60% recognition for the upgrades. This meant Albon replaced us at McLaren, meaning we partnered Lawson, and with Sainz retiring at Williams, with Doohan replacing him there. But let's see if this move worked out for season 6. Unfortunately, Red Bull's performance for this season wasn't too bad, and I've already put through a load of major upgrades, so by the 2nd or 3rd race we should have the best car, if not super close to it. So it should be another close championship, and a bit of an odd one seeing Lewis at Red Bull. But as usual, our aim is still to win the championship and become a 4-time world champion on our journey to match Lewis's 7 titles. So let's transition to the end of the season. And as we got to the end, it was once again a really close fight with McLaren and Lando for the championship, and we in the end pipped Lando at the last race after he had contact with his teammate of Albon to lift our 4th world championship and doing it over our old team. This also resulted in Red Bull winning the constructors for season 6. However, during the season we did have a major regulation change in 3 departments, and I really wasn't sure if to stay with Red Bull for next season. But after looking at the new development charts and realistically seeing how much we could save, I did decide to stay with Red Bull, as they were the only team offering me the 60% recognition. For driver moves at the end of the season were just one of Ocon leaving Haas and Josep Marte taking his seat. We finished the season with 6 wins, 4 poles, and of course 4 world championships. Now we have 3 seasons left and 3 championships to try and get that 7. Season 7 was here, and the final 3 seasons, and the big worry coming into this year was that of the massive regulation change. Fortunately, we weren't hurt too bad, and our estimations worked out well, as we were still close to the top of development, just closely following McLaren, which is much better than I thought. However, seeing all of our resources are pretty much gone, it's going to be a question of can we keep it up throughout the year and claim our 5th championship. So let's find out at the end of the season. And this season was a bit different to the others. Firstly, in the end we dominated the year, winning our 5th championship and another constructor constructors for Red Bull. However, in terms of rivals for the year, it was pretty equal across a lot of teams, with McLaren not really being much of a threat, with at one point the top 5 all in contention of winning the championship, and Kimi being our biggest threat for the majority of the year. But we steadily improved the car, and thankfully no regulations meant we kept the development near the top, and we were just as consistent as possible, winning 4 races and getting 4 pole positions. But we are now coming to the point in the career mode where development soon comes to a halt, as we are hitting max parts in each department. So even though next season is the penultimate season, we still may leave Red Bull in order to win a 7th. The driver moves for next season were just one of Ocon making a return and replacing Yuki Tsunoda at Aston Martin. So let's see where the car is for season 8. Coming into the penultimate season, the car was pretty equal with McLaren, which is really good. However, like last season, my biggest concern is that of the resources and hitting our limit in development. If there is another regulation change or we hit our peak, we may have to leave Red Bull at the end of the season, regardless of how successful we are. But let's transition to the end to see if we retained our title and became a 6-time world champion. And this season was one of our most challenging in trying to retain our title, with McLaren and Norris dominating the start of the year, with him getting 3 wins out of the first 3 races, and the EA ruined our chances at Bahrain with this glitch. The gap eventually got to 35 points, which was a mighty task to try turn around, but in the end we did manage to claw back the championship by 17 points and win it at the final race, after Norris had 2 out of the points finishes back to back at Zandvoort and Mexico. Red Bull also won the Constructors at Abu Dhabi, as we had a 1-2 to finish off the season and win it at the final race. However, for the final season, there was going to be one final regulation change, and in 2 departments of aero and durability. I wasn't sure if to stay with the team in the mid part of the season, as we didn't have many resources, but seeing we were pretty far ahead in aero and could save a majority of the parts, it was only wise to stay with Red Bull for our final season. The last driver moves for this career mode are Piastri retiring from Formula 1 and Behrman leaving Haas to replace him at Williams. We then had the American of Jack Crawford to join Haas. So there it is, we have one final season and one final chance to match Lewis Hamilton's 7 world titles, and will our car be able to do it? And our car definitely seemed to be good, as it was top of development for season 9, just leading the McLarens behind. I will say the career mode hasn't been the best in terms of teams changing positions, as McLaren has just seemed to be at the top of development for all of the seasons, but I guess it was no thanks to me, as we were a part of both teams and brought them forward. But like stated earlier, this is our final chance to claim the 7th world title we have been asking for, and can we do it? So here we are at the end of the final season, and I will say this final season was something crazy, as we had a good start to the season, an even better mid part of the season, and even better end to the season, in which we won every single race, got every single pole position, and obviously won the Drivers' Championship for a 7th time overall, matching what Lewis Hamilton has done in real life. We basically won the championship 3 races before the end, and same with the Constructors. The car was just fantastic for this season, and it was utter domination. In the end, we finished Lewis Hamilton's career mode with 7 World Championships, 7 Constructor Championships, 43 wins, 58 podiums and 33 pole positions.